Therefore, welcome home, Ash. In previous episode, we have seen the short conversation between Delia Ketchum and Professor Oak. Also, we have known that Ray is gone missing, and a little tragedy about Gary. So let's see what's going to happen now. After being woken up by his mother at 6 in the morning, Red thought about the way his mother had reacted during that time. One would have thought she would be used to it by now. The 27 years old boy sat on the sofa while his mother was somewhere in the house, probably freaking out some more about Ash coming home and what Red would do since she would be kicking him out in a way. Red's fingers folded neatly on top of each other as his lips pressed onto the overlaps of thumbs and index fingers. His elbows used his lap as support. His eyes were closed, and he thought of all the things that him and his mother had done previously. He didn't understand why she was making this such a big deal. If worse comes to shove, he could simply say that he was an old friend. What can another lie do anyways? He's been lied to throughout his childhood life, with their father being abusive and valiantly told their mother that he does not want to help take care of Ash and all. His eyes fluttered open, and a scowl was freshly placed on his face. He hated having to think about their father and what he put their mother in. She had it tough. 2 months pregnant with Ash, and he just up and left. Apparently, Ash believed the safer version, that their father was off on his own journey. Soft footsteps sounded all the way into the living room. He turned around his seat and saw Delia already downstairs. He looked at her and sighed. The thing she has to keep from Ash, neither party enjoys it. He would do anything to tell Ash the truth about him. Why can't everything be easy? He asked himself before he threw his head into his hands.
Mime!
He lifted his head slightly. His hands still covered the lower half of his face. He saw Delia's Pokemon with an apron around his waist and a broom that occupied his hands. He had worn a frown, and Red knew he was worried. He sat up with his hands on his lap and smiled at Mr. Mime. It's fine, Mr. Mime. I'm just thinking.
Mime! Mime! Mime!
He chuckled. I guess it's the whole thing with Ash. I hate that we can't tell him the truth. But I mean, Ash is just going to try to live up to whatever expectation he believes I may have of him. And if he were to fail, he would just put himself down. Not to mention, he will begin to think that he is living in my shadow. I don't ever want him to feel like that. The feeling sucks, believe me. The Mime Pokemon nodded and uttered a couple more words to Red. The Pokemon left Red on his own in the living room and tended to receive whatever request his trainer wanted him to do. Red laughed quietly and gazed down after him. He looked down at his Pokégear to check up on the time. 8, huh? He put it back into his pockets and got up from the sofa. Red made his way into the other room where Delia and Mr. Mime were. He didn't quite make himself go unheard of when he entered the dining room. His mother and Mr. Mime turned to face the creator of the heavy pounding and saw Red bashfully lean against the doorframe. What is it, Red? Delia asked worriedly. Red's eyes wandered around the room as he bit his lip. His hand mindlessly played with the bill of his cap before he answered his mother's question. I'm going to head out for a bit. He paused. To visit Green. She tilted her head. Oh, Green's here in the Palatown? He nodded. Yeah, I promised I would meet him, soon or whatever. Delia gleamed towards her eldest son. Okay then, you can go ahead. Remember to come back soon for breakfast. He gave her a quick nod of the head. Will do, Mom. And with salute, he left the house.